Post-Performance Pints, the podcast where we try to recreate the environment that is the green room. You know, all that witty conversation and all that grab. Okay, let's face it, in stand-up clubs, that's mostly guys just doing dick jokes. But yeah, today we're trying to make it a bit more classier. How about that? How's it going? So as always, we have a musical guest. Today, we have a very special guest. They were voted the best new folk act in Ireland, which is pretty damn awesome. Give a warm welcome for the wonderful Emma Langford.
Hey, how's it going? I don't have a fancy microphone, unlike Ali. I'm feeling a bit jealous. I'm just working off my phone here because I'm a broke musician and that's the way of things. So lovely to be part of this show. Very exciting. It's been really weird doing these gigs from home where there's no audience. You're kind of just talking to a camera and hoping for the best and hoping that everyone's enjoying. Usually you can at least tell if someone in the audience isn't having fun. You can sort of try and work around it, but with a camera, you just have to assume that everyone loves you and it's fine. So I'm going to play a song which is called Goodbye Hawaii. I released it in summer last year. So it's a song about that kind of moment in a relationship when you've gotten past the honeymoon period and you have to decide whether you want to stick with it or if you're sick of the smell of their farts. And in the case of this song, I was sick of the smell of their farts. So here is Goodbye Hawaii. You know the funny thing about the day you realize who or what you are is that by the time it happens, you're probably not that anymore. And the funny thing is logic states for some things to break, they first must fall. And like any small or precious thing, you give nothing or you give all. I can't give you any more than that. I don't trust my clumsy feet not to make me fall flat, and the heart's the only muscle tissue, little known fact that don't know how to heal itself if you cut it in half. So don't cut it in half. We spend our days in endless cycles of lust to oxytocin, never stopping to think about the space between us that we've chosen. Well, I can give my mouth my ear, but I can't give you my hand, 'cause though you're all so understanding, you can never understand. I will hand you sellotape and super glue and staples, and I'll help you hold those pieces in place till you're fit and able. I could never be a surgeon, 'cause my stomach's far from strong. But I hope my bedside sympathy suffice to help you moving on. I can't give you any more than that. I don't trust my clumsy feet not to make me fall flat on the heart's the only muscle tissue. Little known fact that don't know how to heal itself if you cut it in half. So don't cut it in half. No, don't cut it in half. No, don't cut it in half. And I can't give you any more than that.
Woo!
Thanks.
Give it up for the wonderful Emma Langford. Thank you for coming on. I love hearing the trumpet bit. And I love watching people react to that trumpet bit. It's an amazing, unique vocal skill.
Yeah, no, it's fun to do. And I always find the reactions are really. I remember doing it in a nursing home once, and the crowd just didn't understand what was happening, and I was using a loop pedal as well at the time, and they thought I had some kind of a backing track or someone hiding behind a curtain playing with me that they just couldn't see. It's always it always causes a bit of confusion, which is good fun.
I know you have a few more of those in the bag, so we'll chat to you in a little bit, and we'll get another lovely song from you if that's okay with you. Thanks, Emma. That's soon. So guys, I want you to introduce you my wonderful co-hosts. I don't know how to describe them. I let them describe themselves. Give it up for the wonderful Pedro Guerra.
Yo, what's up, guys? How are
David
you?
Strutt.
Woo! How's it going?
What was that? Pedro Guerra, David Strutt? like a rap flow.
I mean, they're proportional to your height.
Oh,
Hey!
right away. That was lovely,
with the short joke.
I just wanted to say that was freaking lovely, Emma.
It was
Thank you
so
so much.
nice. Yeah, it was really great. And you're totally right about the trumpet thing, because if you had my camera on, I was just like, because
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
it does take a second. Like, no, that's coming out. That's her mouth. That's not anything in the hidden in the room. Yeah, it was great.
And the song has just the right feel for it's a sunny day here, at least in Dublin. So it's so nice for a sunny Sunday afternoon kind of chill. I love that. Great, perfect. Right,
It's all going downhill with the three of us idiots now. It's like we open too strong. Oh no!
Strong. Never open too strong. Never open too strong.
I love that in comedy parlance, it's like Emma just did the equivalent of walking off stage and just giving the mic to the next person and be like, follow that. And we're like, oh no.
It's funny because you just telling Emma oh, I love the trumpet bit, and my first thing my brain thought that would be cool as a stand-up comedian to have a trumpet bit. Imagine that you comedian who's famous for the trumpet bit. Oh, that guy have you seen Pedro's new trumpet bit? Oh, it's fucking great. Imagine. No? Okay, that's me. I just found it cool.
You see, I don't know.
See, in my head, when I hear trumpet bit, that does not that I know that's going to dark places. Okay, that's
oh shit, really? I thought
is that saying more about me that I just revert to dick jokes straight away when you say trumpet bit?
I was gonna go alternative.
You see, I wasn't sure if you meant a bit about trumpets, or someone was like, you hear Pedro brings a trumpet on stage now, and I'd be like,
sort of like that.
Jeez.
To be fair, that would be your reaction. That would be your reaction. If I showed up in glasses with a trumpet, be like, what the fuck has he been doing on lockdown? Why is he doing that?
Yeah. He's fine. I mean, I can't imagine it, Pedro, not to be too insulting.
I don't know how to play the trumpet, but fuck it, I'll try.
That could be part of it. Please don't.
Yeah. So, guys, will we bring on our first guest, or our main guest, or not our main guest? I'm messing up here. But I bring on our comedic guest.
Exactly.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's do that.
I think so. I think you, ladies and gentlemen at home and everyone in between, you might know him from shows such as The Special with Brett Davis, Chris Getter Show, his hosting Chris Getter Present, and from the upcoming Good Guys Don't Turn Me On TV series, which I've just read off the IMDb, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about, but I'm sure he can tell us about. Give it up for one of New York's top all comic. Please welcome Riley Soloner.
Soloner.
Woohoo! Yay! Hey, can you hear me? I got self-conscious. You guys,
we hear you loud and clear, buddy.
Yeah.
You all have such nice microphones, and so I got out my USB microphone. So hopefully,
it looks way more futuristic.
Yeah, it looks very cool.
Yeah, it floats in the air like a little drone. Whoa! Also. Right away, I don't want to derail too many plans. I do want to first give a big shout out to the Trumpet Boys, some trumpet-based comedy in New York. If you're looking for trumpet bits, they're an old thing? Yeah, they're a trio. They're a sketch trio. I don't know if they perform as the Trumpet Boys anymore, but they had a show at UCB in New York. They may have some clips online, and they all dress very sharply. They all play the trumpet very well, and they're very nice to boot.
Awesome. So, there you go, guys.
I mean, that's so New York comedy. Like, we have an idea. Someone's done it already in New York. Okay, fine.
Sorry, I didn't want to. I meant more to enlight rather than to burst a bubble. But I don't mind bursting a bubble. Actually, there you go.
Saves Pedro a lot of time. In fairness.
Yeah,
exactly. To be fair, I don't need to learn the trumpet anymore. But fuck it, I was already on eBay. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could be the guy to take it to the next level. You could be the Miles Davis.
Where it's gonna be like
the Miles Davis of alt comedy trumpet based bits. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, just the iterative next step.
Yeah, brilliant. I say go for it, Pedro. I'd love to see it.
I'll do it, man. I'll do it. I get a trumpet from eBay. I'll become the Miles Davis of the Trump-based comedy in Dublin, which is a very small subcategory of comedy.
A lot of room to grow, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of room to grow.
I mean, I was gonna say we were joking around before the show that because when the big C disappears, we were talking about doing this show live again, and we were gonna have a house band or whatever. But we were just joking. Why don't we just be the house band? So we just have Pedro on the trumpet.
That's great.
I just need to learn how to play the trumpet and then be able to be funny on purpose.
No learning, Pedro.
No
I think
learning.
It would be much better if you just went for it. No,
so
lessons.
So just the way we do comedy, we just go for it. It's the same
just go figure it out as it goes. I think there's another flaw in that problem is, and Emma Langford can attest to it. She's seen me play bass. I am a terrible musician. There's a reason I do stand-up comedy, okay? Can't sing, can't play, can't dance. Just got to tell dick jokes. That's me.
But yeah, I'll think about it. I'll think about the trumpet. I'm gonna check out these New York comedians just in case.
Yeah, trumpet boys.
Just see if I can like rip off, because in Dublin nobody knows about them. So that's all I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm joking.
I know. It's a comedy podcast. I figured.
I know there was a big, you told us this before, there was a big thing in Portugal where famous Portuguese comedians were just ripping off English comics and translating them, was there?
There was a big thing because one of the, at the time, like 5 years ago, biggest comedian like in Portugal, like in Portuguese in TV and radio. Yeah, he used to have a daily thing in the radio, and he totally ripped off Seinfeld bits and just translated them. Like just literally ripped them off, translated them just translated to Portuguese. I changed one or two references, and that was it. And then comedians, like people who did stand-up comedy, were like, "That's Seinfeld. That's like legit." Or I had the guy I was doing a show once, my first year doing comedy, where he just came on before he was talking to me, like before the gig, like, "Oh, what you gonna do?" And it's like, "Hey man, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but I think I'm gonna just do something from Chris Rock." I'm like, What? And he was on YouTube. Yeah, he was on YouTube watching Chris Rock bits, and then I'm just gonna do something like this. I'm like, and then it was shit, of course. But yeah, that happened.
Wait, was he a white?
I was gonna say,
he was a very white Portuguese guy. I know. It didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense.
So I guess we brought Riley here. We should talk a bit about Riley instead of Joke TV. Oh. It's like, we'll just bring like really good comedians onto our podcast, and we'll just ignore them for the next. That's the bit. I'm joking. So sorry, I just talked over you. Sorry.
I was gonna say I'd listen to that.
So Riley, your background, correct me if I'm wrong, you started off in improv.
Yes. Well, I started off in New York doing improv. Before I moved to New York, I would make YouTube videos, just little character pieces. And I became, kind of a pretty dedicated online comedy nerd, just trying to find my favorite sketch comedians online. And it seemed like the best people were coming from or had some kind of involvement with the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. And then that was also at the time that you would hear rumblings of like Second City and UCB people appearing on Saturday Night Live, or, Stephen Colbert was Second City, I think. And then, you hear about the Groundlings just through research and just being online all the time. And then College Humor was also becoming a pretty popular thing. And they just looked like another cool, like online version of like the Saturday Night Live cast. So just New York, they know how to market New York as like a cool place to be. So, and I had friends there, and I took a trip out there. I saw my first show at UCB there, and that was pretty much it. I was hooked, and I decided I was going to move there explicitly to take improv classes and try doing the comedy thing. Yeah, it was. I was not even 21 years old. Yeah. And I had never lived away from home, and I just kind of foolishly jumped into something, and I'm,
it seems to be working out.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the parts that I show you, yeah.
But it's what a huge transition. So you're like, you said, I'm not even 21, and you moved to New York City
from California. Yeah, 3,000 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great, because that's actually the other side of the country. Like, so crazy. Like, that's going from one side of Europe to the other side to go and do comedy.
How daunting was that when you first arrived?
It was very daunting. I mean, I was lucky to have friends to help me acclimate when I moved there, and just the general like, I don't know. I think there was just kind of like a youthful ignorance of like how complicated life could be. So I really only had a one-track mind on a couple things: enrolling in classes, finding cool stuff to do and friends to make, and finding a job. So that kept it pretty positive. Reality set in relatively quickly when jobs were hard to hold and rent was hard to pay and things like that. But just at the beginning, I think I did a fair amount of, probably didn't do a fair amount of research, but I did enough research to like operate in a small pond in the giant lake that is New York.
Yeah.
This metaphor is falling apart, but you understand.
Yeah.
The big lake.
Got it.
Nobody's gonna get that reference except us two.
Good, very good.
That's it. So I'll tell you, the people at home, how I discovered Riley's work is I'm a big fan of a comedian called Chris Geddard, who is kind of like Riley's comedy dad, I guess, in a way.
Yeah,
I don't know if I got that strong.
Well, speaking in terms of UCB being like a small pond, at around the time that I started taking classes, Gethard was like one of the big fish there. And, everyone knew him as one of the best teachers, if not the best teacher. and just performed. Just has a very unique performance style. As like he just mixed as an improviser and as a storyteller, mixed like very thoughtful, emotional beats with very strange and irreverent spikes in attitude and imagination. And so it just made him just so watchable, and you would seek out everything that he was doing. And he started the Chris Gethard Show in 2009, I think. And it was just the most exciting show. It was like an exciting punk rock environment of that, if like the punk clubs that I would go to in the when I was like 16 or 17, it had a similar vibe where there was a live band on stage, and it also had kind of like a professional wrestling, like audience going crazy element to it. It was just very easy to get addicted to that energy, and then the performers creating that energy. And so I kind of made an effort to like seek out Gethard as a mentor, even if it wasn't direct. I could like cherry pick and focus on the things that he's clearly working on in order to elicit such a passionate crowd response. And like, oh, there's clearly something going on separating him from the pack that makes him such a just tuned in performer. Okay. And so whether or not it was like direct mentorship, because I was still in classes, and there's a lot of people all trying to get attention and get on stage and everything. So it just kind of becomes a game of like, even if it's at a distance, I'm going to really watch these performers and be not just fans, but like it was kind of like a school environment. And I took it a little too seriously at times, but like I would go to, that's what I came to New York to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, you did move coast to coast to do that. That's the weird thing about UCB. Like, I don't know, for me, it feels weird that the environment is so hierarchical, but at the same time, it is also seems to be, it works, like, because people get access to people who are much better than them very early in their careers, Sure.
And it's also just the improv by nature, the practice of it is very uplifting. And if you've never done it before, or you're just kind of looking for a few kind of intangible things, like deeper friendships with people, an opportunity to perform, just a feeling of camaraderie, it's all very at once kind of intoxicating. And then that paired with like the kind of naturally competitive nature of like trying to get stage time or trying to get a job in the entertainment field, things like that. It creates a tight community, but also like a weird, fanatical, competitive, just strange subculture.
Who said that?
I'm sorry, did you say cult?
Yeah. What?
Yes.
All hail the glorious four.
Sure.
No,
there's nothing wrong with that. I would sign up for that cult if it existed in Dublin.
Start it, everyone.
We'll just say UCP Europe coming to Ireland, Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, I mean, maybe
maybe. Anyway, so also on this podcast, we have a bit where we bring in one of our favorite comedians to do a bit of it from Dublin scene, just to talk about stuff. So this week we have the wonderful Fiona Kenny.
A segment. We've been talking for a little while. Why don't we have a segment?
I hate the euphemism challenges for problems. I hate the term, you don't have problems, you have challenges. Like, I've been having connection problems, not connection challenges. So, I am, of course, I am autistic. This is Autism Acceptance Month. And an important thing to note is that Autism Speaks, which is a very large autism charity, is in fact a hate group. It's Autism Speaks is for autistic people what the Westford Baptist Church is for queer people. So
that's
Wow.
instead of Light of Blue, which is what Autism Speaks wants us to do, a lot of the other autism-led organizations have had campaigns such as Light of Gold and #Red Instead, which in my case means that I've committed to wearing at least one red item of clothing every day for a month, which also means that it gives me incentive to get dressed every day during this pandemic. Another reason Autism Speaks is so controversial is because they want a cure, and their symbol is the puzzle piece, which insinuates that autistic people need to be fixed, that we are burdens. They also don't have any autistic people on the board, and also they don't listen to autistic people. So, for example, I was talking to a friend about what symbols to use for autism, and she was saying the puzzle piece is the most recognizable one. She was asking if it was okay to use it. I had to tell her, no, please don't use that. Use the rainbow infinity symbol instead. Because the puzzle piece symbol is offensive to autistic people. It's like Americans going into an Irish pub and ordering a black and tan or an Irish car bomb. So another reason the symbol for Autism Speaks another reason they're associated with the color blue is because of the myth that autism is extreme male brain, which means that which has led to autism being underdiagnosed in girls, and unfortunately in a lot of cases that it is underdiagnosed in people assigned female at birth. So having a vagina is a barrier to diagnosis. Plus, girls are way more susceptible to social conditioning, hence why they're diagnosed late. Also, one of the things to notice about autistic people is we struggle with eye contact. I know, just feels like eye contact just feels invasive. Just, how would you like it if we stared into your soul? Also, another myth is that autistic people lack empathy, which is complete bullshit. During the last general election campaign, now former senator described our Taoiseach, our prime minister, as being a bit autistic. He's not autistic. He's just classist. Autistic people have empathy, unlike the right wing. I recently looked back at my diary from the day I got diagnosed, which was a list of ableist slurs, followed by the phrase, fuck this shit. I was 18, it was 2013, edgelords were very much a thing. It's also very important to say that vaccines do not cause autism. Being autistic is infinitely preferable to having and possibly dying from a preventable disease. Although, given the current situation, it's probably too soon to make disease jokes. It was the #ActuallyAutistic movement on Twitter that helped me to come to terms with it, plus some of my fellow comedians being autistic. But still, I have a fuck ton of internalized ableism. I've big gifted child energy. Personally, I've always hated the label gifted because it seems to be reserved for people with kids. No, it seems to be reserved for kids whose intelligence stat is +5 and their charisma and wisdom stat is -5. That's a Dungeons and Dragons note, and yes, I'm a massive nerd. In other news, grass is green and water is wet. Gifted children tend to be the type of children who are ridiculously smart but have no social skills. That fucking label prevents me from getting a diagnosis earlier. So in the UK, there's this dating show featuring a lot of disabled people as well as, which includes autistic people, called The Undateables. And the autistic people on the show they're not allowed to date. It implies they're not allowed to date outside of their own kind, which is segregationist. I mean, the people on the show are infantilized. They're taken to places such as the zoo and the bowling alley, Remember when going places was a thing? Which would be more suited for primary school field trips. Sadly, field trips are no longer a thing. Plus, it never depicts them as having friends. They're always seen with their parents, and the parents are the go-to vox pops. But for once, I'd like to see autistic people depicted as having friends, because I consider having friends to be an achievement. Plus, despite a high proportion of autistic people being queer, I haven't seen any on the show. I watch dating shows for the cringe factor, and in Ireland we have First Dates, which essentially neurotypicals say the darndest things. Dear viewers, I am very single. I'm 25, which means I'm at the age where people my age are starting to get engaged. Meanwhile, I have a friend group. Like, relationships are scary. I'm a queer woman. I can't flirt to save my life. Plus, in America, they have this habit of platonic female friends calling each other girlfriends, which is confusing. Another reason I don't flirt is because I'm constantly worried I'm making people uncomfortable, to the extent that it makes them uncomfortable. I mean, I try to keep my distance from my comedy heroes on the circuit, and being of an anxious demeanor, this inevitably makes things worse. So being on a podcast doing new material in front of established comedians scares the shit out of me. And that's your thought for the week.
Woo!
Good job.
Well done.
Yes, Fiona, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I just did. Fiona, we'll chat to you again soon. Thanks very much for popping on.
Thanks,
I
Fiona.
accidentally broke my internet there, guys. So sorry about that. Hope it
Yeah, I
wasn't
did
too
see
much
you
disruption.
disappear. I saw you disappear, and all of us to be put on. I'm like, oh shit!
I'm back. Where did Ali go? It's a mystery. I went off to do strange lady things.
Introducing a new product from the Hiroshima Cleaning Company. Stuff Cleaner! It literally cleans all your stuff. Hi, I'm name removed for legal purposes, and I'm here to let you know that you can throw away all your other cleaning products in place of Stuff Cleaner. All purpose, all the time. I'm Scottish! You could use it on your kitchen worktop, your car, your clothes, even your baby. Just listen to this testimonial.
Well, I sprayed it on my baby's face and...
See there, aye. Another satisfied customer. Stuff Cleaner. Freedom! It literally cleans all your stuff.
Side effects include nausea, oral bleeding, anal bleeding, a fungus-like pus emanating from the armpits, feelings of melancholy, extreme irritability, chafing, and death.
So the improv, but it's really cool because like a lot of my favorite comics, stand-up comedians even, will come from a UCB background. You know what I mean? So it seems like you guys all seem to pick up really cool skills and let you be a bit more creative than your run-of-the-mill stand-up.
Sometimes. I mean, there's also, it's kind of like a grass is always greener type of thing where a lot of improvisers will look at a really cool stand-up and go, God, I could never do that. Or, he has so many this or that. Yeah, it's just comedians naturally just kind of look at other things going on and go, oh, that's not as cool as what I'm doing. I don't think stand-ups do that as much as improvisers, but you get it happens. But I don't know. I don't know. It was just a place where a lot of people did a lot of stuff. So you get a lot of. It's simple as that. A lot of people were there. So sometimes you get good people just because there's so many to roll through there.
Yeah, like how many people were at the given time be like in a class? Like what were like the amount of people be doing things?
Well, let's see. There were classes 7 days a week, and then there were probably at the time that the training center was at its size when I started going, there were like I want to say like 8 or 9 classrooms.
Yeah.
With 12 to like 16 people in each class.
Okay, now that's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a lot. And then there were shows every night, and then there were 100 to 200 seats there, when there was one theater. And then I don't know, and then
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's basically UCB is bigger than the Dublin comedy scene.
It is.
That's what you're saying.
Every night.
Hard.
Yeah. And that was before like a very strange growth period for UCB too, where they opened a second theater in the city, and then opened a second theater in Los Angeles, and then opened a giant state-of-the-art training facility in New York, and then an even bigger one in LA. It was like, whoa.
That's amazing. I didn't know about that. But how was it for you? Because you said like you're doing some YouTube videos, right? You want to go to where the comedians you like, the sketch and improv go. So you didn't have, did you have any improv classes, any trial before you went all the way there, or?
Well, I had been a big fan of improv, just seeing the bits and pieces of it you'd see on television, like, you know, Whose Line Is It Anyway, which is like a short form, and then UCB is, there's not much long form improv representation on TV, but so you'd see like people ad-libbing just single line jokes on Whose Line, and then you'd go watch a UCB style show, which was just like people creating plays on stage based off of nothing, and it was like it was just very mind-opening and exciting. But experience really just came down to like trying those short form style games during like warm-ups in like maybe like when you're doing theater in high school, or I would attend summer camp as a kid, and they had improv games, and you know, just it was something that I felt like I was naturally good at because I was excited to try it, and the enthusiasm kind of floats a lot of skill early on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sorry, Ali, go ahead.
I was going to say, just speaking of enthusiasm, you do have this amazing ability to create cult characters that people just get really obsessed with, whether it's like Fagace and Jason on the Chris Gethard show, or Klon, which your character from CGP. Like, I've never seen anybody, like, just like, if you go on to sort of fan servers of the Chris Gethard community, you'll just find people with Klon in their name, or little robot things made called Klon. It's weird. It's like, it's cool though.
Thank you. A lot of that comes from stuff I like. You know, I've really inspired early on by like you know, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubin, and then, you know, around, that was kind of like younger preteen, and then when I was in high school, I started watching a lot of Conan O'Brien, and they would have the best characters on their show. So there was a guy named Brian McCann who did a lot of really hilarious, just kind of enthusiasm and commitment forward characters where the premise was very weak, you know, like Preparation H. Raymond, where he would just be dressed as a giant bottle of anal medication, and he'd be throwing bottles of it into the audience and singing a song. Awesome. You know, or like Brian Stack, a lot of the Conan writers, John Glazer, who went on to do Delocated, you know, just nice and weird. Just embracing a very thin premise with full commitment, and just getting almost like laughing and not even sure why kind of a thing. So I've always liked that. And then it's easy to come up with a very simple character and then just milk it.
Yeah, I was going to say that, because you do have like loads of cool ideas with that simple premise, which is amazing. It's not like just like the Conan O'Brien, like that the character shows, booyah, there's a lot to go. Like, you're actually working on it. It's amazing.
I tried to. I mean, you know, I think my favorite compliment that I've ever received is this is better than it has any right to be. It's like a sneak attack, you know, where if I can because all the ideas start out very, very simple and very easy to understand, which is crucial. But then, but if it's so easy to understand that it's kind of stupid, or maybe you've heard a version of it before, it's easy to undermine it with expectations of what a character or a joke or something to make you laugh should be. But then if I can take this idea and then twist it in enough unexpected ways that it's like actually refined into something creative when it starts out so stupid, then I don't know. That's fun to me. That feels like a niche that I've carved.
Yeah, I feel like as well, especially with the Vacation Jason character, there was an interesting vibe that developed. That just a silly thing just annoyed the host of that show so much that it became nearly like a wrestling heel or like an anti-hero kind of thing. It was it's just everyone was like there was a good group dynamic going on there.
Well, that all started before I was a part of the show, because when I was just a fan, it was, again, this is me watching the show very closely, being that culty kind of follower, but like to watch the show and see Gethard as the host being, berated by the guest or berated by his co-host, embarrassed, humiliated, sometimes physically assaulted, just humiliated by his own ideas that go wrong. It just, when I finally got the opportunity to do the show, I knew that was the energy to bring. And I just had to be kind of rude to him and just, it also in the UCB space, which becomes kind of a holy, exalted stage because, these famous people have performed on it I noticed that we're at Jesters, right? This is where we're recording this.
No, we originated out of Jesters. We're not. It's one of those. Jesters is a club in Dublin that's kind of. How would you describe Jesters?
I think it's like the hub for starting new comedians in a way, to be fair.
Yeah, it's where most of the new comics in Dublin come out of, and also they give us space to just do what the hell we want, whether it's Post-Performance Pints or Token Straight, which is a queer comedy night here in Dublin that we run as well. So it's just like give us license to run with. So
excellent.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, the word jester just sparks a lot in my imagination, because I feel oftentimes like my role is the jester, is to kind of be the one, because I was still an improv student at the time, and all the other performers on stage were like veterans. So to be someone on stage who hasn't quite fully earned in quotes the right to be side by side with these performers, I felt like a jester, to bring that same Gethard show energy of like making sure the host is disrespected and uncomfortable. Just
don't be giving them ideas. Do not give them ideas, okay?
Oh no, this isn't that kind of show. That's very
well. It's going to start to be,
Was it almost like
it's going to start being now?
Because was it almost like kind of you knew so well that they were veterans in comparison to you that you were like, well, the only way to deal with this then is to kind of act almost playfully disrespectful to them, because I know they're sort of veterans in comparison to me, if you get me.
It was oftentimes less about being a tough guy and asserting my ability to put down other people. Right. And it was more about my ability to present this admittedly self-awarely like bad character and first roll with the punches that were coming my way, because all of my, the people that I looked up to were shitting on my idea. And so being able to roll with that and committing to a character who's like very cool and, googie, it made it easy to commit to the idea that this didn't faze me, even if it were sometimes hurtful, but So to commit to a character that has negativity roll off his back.
So, guys, will we have some more music?
Let's have some music.
What do you reckon? We'll bring up. I'd like to welcome back the wonderful Emma Langford. How are we, Emma?
I'm now wearing a hat.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're fitting in. Oh, we have a stranger way. It goes hat, no hat, hat. Oh, no, never mind. I messed up the rhythm. Sorry. That's why we leave the music to you, Emma.
I don't remember being that bad at bass in college.
Oh, it was pretty bad. And it's only been a decade since, and I still haven't improved. I just made us, I don't know about you, but I just made myself feel very old.
Yeah, I don't think being said to make me feel old. I just feel old all the time, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, at least you're not like me. I literally broke my hip last year. Proper old lady. In fairness, it was skateboarding, so it wasn't complete old lady move, but still. And then, like an idiot, I tried to walk. Well, I did walk 1.5 miles on it using a skateboard as a crutch. So, on that brutal note, we have some music from Emma.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Better than broken hip talk for sure. All right, I was trying to figure out what to do, but I figured this would be a nice blast from the past for you, Ali. This is a song called "You Are Not Mine," which I am releasing on my next album. I had it out on an EP, and I've taken it off the internet and off everywhere now because I wanted to re-release it. So it's I wrote it when I was in college, and this guy that I barely knew decided to tell an online blog that the song was about him. Which it wasn't, which is it was laughable that he thinks it was. I think I had one conversation with him ever. And so while the song is originally called "You Are Not Mine," I have changed the name of the song to "This Song Isn't About You, You Lying Bollocks." And for anyone listening who's not Irish and hasn't heard the word bollocks, it's a great word. It's just a word to describe someone who's a waste of space, waste of oxygen, waste of a ride for the mum and dad. So this song isn't about you lying bollocks. I bear scars you don't care to see. They're not in clear view, but they're so dear to me. And those are scars I would not remove, for that I have loved and lost, they are my proof. And if we go out dancing tonight, I want you to know that it's alright. You can dance with whoever you want to, it's fine. I am not yours and you are not mine. She watches him watch her crossing the floor, and we all know you'd love to have kissed her once more. But that our love was never to be. You were not yourself, and she was not me. You were not yourself, and I set you free. And if we go out dancing tonight, I want you to know that it's alright. You can dance with whoever you want to, it's fine. I am not yours and you are not mine. I am not yours and you are not mine. I am not yours and you are not mine. Heartbreak and liquor play games inside your head. Signs are made and signs are misread. And I'm sorry, my boy, but I have been here before. And you bear the markings of a boy I could adore. I will only break your heart and turn another shore. So if we're dancing, I'm best left ignored. And if we go out dancing tonight, I want you to know it's fine, it's all right. You can dance with whoever you want to, it's fine. I am not yours and you are not mine. I am not yours and you are not mine. I am not yours and you are not mine. I am not yours and you are not mine. I am not yours and you are not mine. Ooh. So if I am not yours and you are not mine, or if I'm not yours and you are not mine, or if I'm not yours and you are not mine, or if I am not yours, therefore you are not mine.
Woo-hoo! Wow.
Oh, sorry.
It was great.
There you go.
Wow, that was beautiful. Wow. Wow, that was amazing. I gotta Andy, that was the most intense musical introduction we've ever had.
Yeah.
You took the broken hip and you raised it up, and I was like, whoa, yeah. Wow, that was amazing. That was yeah, that's actually one of my old favorites of yours. I remember you playing that back in the good old days.
Days feels like a lifetime ago.
How long ago was that? How long ago was?
For me, it literally was another lifetime ago.
Like 10 years ago. Was that it? What you're saying?
12, I think, nearly.
Wow.
Yeah, college was what year is it now? 2020. Yeah, it's about 7 years ago, I suppose. Thereabouts.
That's so cool. So it's such a treat to have such amazing music on the blog, on the stream. Yeah, and it's something I know that seems to be we don't do enough of in Ireland. We don't combine music and comedy and poetry as much. I know you on your latest single, Acorns, Planting Acorns, isn't it correct? Beautiful song.
Sowing.
Sowing acorns. Sorry, stupid brain. That is that you do have some poetry from. I can't pronounce her name. I'm an idiot. I'm going to go.
Laura, she's amazing.
Is amazing from Belfast, amazing photographer as well. But it's something I know, Riley, in the New York scene, you guys do a lot more of. You have a lot more music involved in the scene, at least in the Chris Gethard universe anyways. You seem to, that punk energy seems to cross over a lot.
Oh, his mic's off.
Oh.
Sorry. Hi. Speaking of the sonic quality of comedy, yes, my mic was muted. It's yeah. Well, the musical guests certainly gave it a vibe of, or like the live band, and yeah, I like music. I like doing musical comedy. It's fun. It's fun to combine things.
It's fun to make it work.
I like to play.
Yeah, I always think Emma, like I've seen you. I always think you're very, very funny on Twitter, but you're also very funny in between songs. So you're like one of those people I always see and be like, yeah, she'd actually be way better at me at stand up if she tried. I'm like, oh no.
All right, I'm dethroning you.
Would you try though? Would you try some stand up, Emma? Would you ever try?
I've thought about it before, and then I stopped thinking about it and didn't do it.
No, go ahead, do it. No, seriously, why not? I'm always constantly pushing people to do like stand up or some comedy or something like that. Why not?
Or,
I mean, I could get into my live shows anyway. It's not that I would never go near it. It's just that it's, music is my first calling, and then storytelling. The way I can find to do storytelling, and then I do that in a comedic way when I can. And I just, I don't have a magnetic draw to stand on stage and deliver jokes for an hour. It's just not something I want.
Yeah, well, how about them airport food? Just make all this good. It's got a guitar.
Yeah. Or
just make like the bass from Seinfeld.
Or have you ever heard of Chris Rock? You could tell his jokes
That's true.
Hey, that was a callback. That was a horrible gig. I will never forget that.
Yeah. Cover comedians. They don't.
Yeah, there's something to be said for it.
I feel like there's a little bit more leeway. Like I've seen a couple of people cover musical comedy, but like acknowledge that it feels. I guess it's from the musical world. It's actually really weird, isn't it? That disconnects. That like in the musical world, covers are a thing. In comedy, it's like do not touch my stuff.
Well, if you're gonna like cover someone's comedy, it doesn't. I just thought of this right now, so this might not be a sound theory, but if you're covering like modern comedy where the persona is so linked to the material, it comes off as very false and manufactured. But if you were to go farther back and maybe put a new spin on an Oscar Wilde or William Shakespeare monologue where the comedy is still there if you have the knowledge and experience to deliver it charismatically, and it's wrapped up in a more timeless thought and a character, so you're not just copying someone in the hopes that they don't know who you're copying. You know what I mean? But that takes more work than just
that takes a lot more work. Yeah, exactly.
I just rather like do self-deprecating humor.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier. It's easier.
But you're doing yours. You're doing yours.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, what's that quote? Comedy isn't about stopping people laughing at you. It's controlling how they laugh at you.
Cool.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying to you, Emma, is that you're not damaged enough to be a comedian. Is that what we're getting from this conversation?
Congratulations.
Congratulations on being well adjusted.
That's being ambitious, but sure, I'll take it.
Yeah. And like Riley, you get a pass as well. You do improv. You play with others. Yeah. We were like, the three of us are all stand-ups. We just don't this is as close as we get to working well together.
You do not have a good sense of the improv community and the deep psychological damage that we are all trying to bury.
Chosen family. Is this the bit where we all just chanted at Emma, one of us?
That's just the warm-up. That's just an improv warm-up. Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's good crack.
I had a question actually. This might go nowhere, and if it does, we could just cut it out. But I was wondering, Riley, you did what were they? Stream of conscious absurd poems when you were in middle school, which is what age roughly?
I guess that's like preteen.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I just was wondering if you could remember a few lines from any of them, because I was really interested to hear one.
Yeah, I have my journal. Let me go grab it. I'll do one for you. Here,
thank you so much.
Don't even put him on the spot. I am here for this. This
is why I was worried about saying it, because I was like, he might not. They could be long gone, but that's
they're long gone. No. I have them in case they reference to like a 20-year-old bit. I need to have them like ready to go.
While I look for this, can you tell me where you heard that I do these things? I don't remember ever saying that publicly.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Whoa,
I got people.
Contact.
I got people. Don't worry about
people everywhere.
Dave Strutt. You can't hide the truth from Dave Strutt.
Okay. This is from August 3rd, 2001. It's a little poem about airline snacks. Were we talking about airline food earlier? Here we go.
Yeah.
This is one of my first bits, and it really was about airline food.
I literally just landed in from a 16 hours in an airplane about 10 hours ago. So yeah, go on, bring back the PTSD.
Ready for it. Yeah,
let's do this. Let's go for it.
Okay. I like getting peanuts on airplanes. And sometimes it's a surprise. So I'm like, hey, cool. Now I got peanuts. So then I eat them. But then I feel sick because I ate all 4 of them. That's only 2 + 2. 4. If I'm still sick a week after eating the peanuts, It's probably because they weren't peanuts. They were eggs.
That's pretty good.
Start as you mean to go on.
Threw you a real curveball there. Well, this is kind of fun to look through. Jeez.
2001. What age were you when you wrote that one, Riley?
I must have been like 11 or 12.
Fuck. All right.
Because I wrote a poem when I was 11, and they found it after my granddad died, and it was literally like about this lake where everyone dies. So I think we might have been in slightly different mental headspaces.
Just a little bit different.
I found a box of like old songs I'd written when I was like 12 and 13, and I keep them, but I can't read them because it gives me anxiety because they're just so terrible.
Yeah.
And now you use them as the jingles of the show. No, I'm joking.
Hey!
Yeah. Just looking through this journal is kind of fun, but at the same time, like there's a lot of angst and terrible drawings and complaining about like schoolwork and things like that. And it smells bad too. Yeah. It's covered in duct tape with a little duct tape R stuck on there, and it's got caution tape on it that says "Do not enter." My thoughts were so insane.
Yeah,
I'm trying to save you from entering.
Pretty metal, bro. Pretty metal.
You're not ready to look into this 11-year-old's
No
mind.
way, man. I'm writing poems about airline food.
Airline.
Are you ready to handle peanuts?
Oh, very happy you have that. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
That was very well
That's
thought
it.
out, David. That was impressive.
Yeah, I spent so long trying to get rid of nuts, but they just keep coming back up. Boom, trans hack humor for you guys.
It only dawned on me there. I'm such an idiot.
That should be the name of your album.
It only dawned on me there. I'm such an idiot. That'd be a great album name. Yeah. Pedro, Emma, do you guys have anything from when you were 12 or 13 you want to dox publicly on the internet?
I think looking at how I was at 12, people were thinking that maybe I would have done more things in my life. I was very well, I don't have anything. I did theater. So didn't really do anything.
That's embarrassing, but it has no permanence, so that's okay.
It's not really.
Yeah. What about yourself, Emma? I know you grew up in a pretty creative household. You must have loads of random crap.
I do, but I'm more or less the same person I was then now. So, I mean, I would be embarrassed about it, but it's just me, man. It's just what I am.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Own that shit. Own that shit. Yeah, everyone just thought I was a boy then, so it's okay. Very much not the same person anymore. I don't know how I can keep making that joke back around, but anyways, I'm going to keep doing it until it works. Guys, it's been a wonderful show. Emma, are you okay for another song before we head off into the night?
Into the best.
Any requests? Sure.
Oh, will we go with the new one, the Stone Acorns, or do you have any particularly?
No, I can do that one. That's cool.
That's a beautiful song. I want to thank you, everybody, for watching at home. I want to give it up for the wonderful Riley Soloner. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, Riley, so much for...
It's been amazing.
I appreciate it. Thank you, and keep doing your show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
ladies and gentlemen, one last time, give it up for Emma Langford.
Woo!
In the distance. Yeah, it's really funny. This song has really taken off in the past while, and I found it really interesting that it did, because I wrote it in 2017 when I was finishing my master's, and I was dealing with a horrible flu and really bad fever dreams. So for this song to take off now when people are dealing with that exact thing seems a bit weird, but by all accounts it is giving people a bit of comfort. It's called Sowing Acorns. Sowing is in S-O-W, not S-E-W. Sowing is in planting. And it's just about kind of embracing the things you did when you were younger, the choices you made that brought you to where you are now and made you the person you are. So, it's available to listen to on all good streaming platforms and all that stuff. And it's going to be on my new album. Thanks to Ali and to the guys for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun. And come find me elsewhere on the internet if you want to hear more. I've been holding out on you these past nights, hoping you'd find me yourself before light. Dreams, they don't come to me willingly now. Darkness, no comfort. Silence, no shroud. I have to reason where reason allows. These eyes grow weary now, tracing the lines, counting the cracks in a grey plaster sky. Dreams don't entice them to rest for a while. Dreams are the locked box kept deep in the mind. Some feel what hides behind their own closed eyes. I've been sowing acorns in my densely woven mind. I've been growing trees from memories for us to climb. When we reach the top, what will we see? When we've climbed them all, what will we dream? Oh, will we dream? Will we dream? Will we dream? So sleep will come to me now willingly. Peaceful and dreamless will overcome me. Words fade, this jaded mind gives up the fight. Worries and thoughts tangle, twist and unwind. Lost now I drift in this blue black of night. I've been sowing acorns in my densely woven mind. I've been growing trees from memories for us to climb. When we reach the top, what will we see? When we've climbed them all, what will we dream?